Well, we've had Herbert on a couple of days ago, and I put him in the hot seat. Man, he was sweating. By the end, I could see the steam, from all the questions that I was asking, but he did great. So I wanted to have him back because I had a bunch more questions. So Herbert, thank you for coming back on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I do not like it when you ask me a question without me having to plan ahead. But thank you very much for doing that.
Well, it's always fun, huh? So, all
It was
right.
fun. Yeah.
So, hit like if you like having Herbert on, hit subscribe and notify and all that jazz. And follow Herbert on all of his locations. Though everything will be down below in the description. If you want to find Herbert's video channel, if you want to find him on Twitter, he's in all of those places. You definitely should be watching Herbert's channel. All right, let's see here. I want to get back to these questions, Herbert. Here we go. The next one was, are you ready?
All right. Yeah.
All right. When will
Good.
FSD be solved?
Okay. Well, this is a long answer, but I'll keep it short. Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
But, I am more optimistic than most people. And the reason is that I do not have linear thinking. I'm a tech guy, I'm a startup guy, and I've been watching and learning as much as I can. And just by listening, not to Elon, Elon says it's going to be, safer than a human by the end of this year. And it depends on what your definition of FSD is solved. And I think the definition is safer than a human. But safer than a human is very easy to do. Autopilot is already safer than a human. So autopilot use on highways is already safer than a human. And so it's like, I think the definition should be that doesn't, I think level 4, level 5, which is again, really weird,
yes,
old, archaic way to define it. But I think the actual definition is 10 times safer than a human.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And in order to be 10 times safer than a human, you need to not just, not have any mistakes or disengagement issues when you're driving it, but it's got to be to the level where, it can solve, the 99s, right? The 9.99 March of Nines. Yeah. So then that's a tall task. Okay. But something's just happened in the last month that people should be aware of. And many in the folks in the Tesla Twitter community are aware of it, but many people don't even know that this has happened recently. So the current way that Tesla has been doing things for the last several years is they would build neural networks so that the computer can learn on its own, but very separate neural nets for each component. So they had to create a neural net for the computer to learn how to identify stop signs. And there's literally thousands of different variations of a stop sign, even occluded stops and so forth. They created a neural net to learn how to do that. They needed to create one to be able to identify debris falling from a car ahead of you and how to do evasive maneuvers. Every time there's one of these edge cases, they needed to create a neural net. And that's why you've seen progress in FSD, but then that's why you also see lots of things it doesn't know what to do and it kind of screws up, right? But what's happened recently is they built a large supercomputer called Dojo that went in production last month, and it's got significant progress. Like it's expected to be, 20 times larger by the end of next year. That's like a year and a half from now. It's going to be 20 times more powerful than what it is today. And by January, which 6 months from now, it's going to be this largest supercomputer in the world. That's their plan, right? It's going to be at least faster than NVIDIA. I'm not sure if it's going to beat that plan. Okay, so that is going to give it serious ability to take all the data and put it in. But the big advancement is called the general world model that Ashok Aswani, who's the director of Autopilot, shared information on. And what this is that they don't do individual neural nets anymore. And they don't teach the system to do anything. The system, just by feeding it videos, and by the way, you don't need to feed it from the videos of the 4 million cars that are out there right now, but also from YouTube and everywhere else. The system is learning on its own. It taught itself how to recognize that the videos it's watching is 3-dimensional. It taught itself that, oh, that's fog. I can drive through that. It taught itself that those are paper flying. I can fly through that, drive through that. So it's crazy how quickly this thing apparently is teaching itself. And so the big issue was initially they thought that they would have to teach it these little parts. No more. You just feed it videos and it seems to have figured out how to understand the world and learn it. And it can actually recreate the world, and they can show that it can recreate it to the millimeter. So it's better than LiDAR. and so every car that's driven through any city, any location, it takes that video and it's able to, the system able to recreate it and know what it is like. And everything. We're talking about signs on the street signs, but it's all can see the words on the streets. It can see the cars, it can see the trees, it can see the buildings. And so this is a big leap. And this is why you're hearing not only Elon, but Ashok say that this will be in, he actually said this will be in consumers' hands by the end of this year, he believes. So 6 months, even he said it. Now, will this at that point solve FSD? No. So I think it'll be solved next year, 2024.
All right.
Pretty confident about that too.
And how will we know? And I'll just give you the two thoughts that I've had. One is that Elon finally does the coast-to-coast trips from the back seat with no steering wheel and no brakes or whatever. Or he just goes out and announces from now on, when you're on FSD, the Tesla will be responsible for any accident. Those would be two ways that I thought of. What do you think? What do you think, just off the top of your head, if you have an idea, what will be the announcement, or how will we know that is now solved?
Okay, so I think we're conflating two things here, right? It's like the rollout plan, and then versus how do we know when it's solved, right? Because I believe that FSD will have a ChatGPT moment. The ChatGPT moment happened, which is defined in my mind, would be defined when the world, like the vast majority of the world, without a doubt understood that AI is real and it's very capable. And they started talking about, AI is going to, kill humans.
Right.
They started talking about how, AI is just going to take over all of our jobs. But at the end of the day, if you look at ChatGPT, it makes a ton of mistakes. And it still can't do just the most basic stuff, right? And it's still hallucinating and saying things that are wrong.
Right.
And yet, what woke them up was that it's so quick of a step change advancement from what were people saying in January? They were saying, AI can't even do autocorrect properly. Forget it. It'll never happen in my lifetime. Come back to me when it solves autocorrect. That's what they were saying in January. Yeah. Now it was like, holy crap.
Yeah, right.
Even though it's making mistakes. Okay. So, but the difference is ChatGPT was something where every one of us could go online, quickly experiencing ourselves. Yes. And we got that moment of boom.
Yes.
So I think what's going to happen is, let's say the end of this year, they roll this out to all the consumers. And all of a sudden, number one, all of us driving it, the FSD players, that's 400,000 of us driving it, will realize that it's not making the same mistakes, right? But I think you're right. There has to be some sort of awakening by the society, because even now, 99% of people don't know that FSD exists.
Right.
So I think I will agree with you. It needs to be some sort of demo like that. What I was saying to people was that I think that it's going to be actually smart summon and reverse smart summon that's going to do it. And that is parking. The car knows how to park itself and knows how to pick you up. And so whenever I drive my car to Target or Walmart, it drops me and my family off at the front place. It goes and finds its own parking.
Yeah.
When I leave it goes and drives and picks me up. And I think that all the people seeing this will be going crazy. They'll be doing YouTube and TikTok videos of this. They'll be showing everybody, oh my God, all Teslas can now basically do this. And then that's what's going to awaken people. But that was my thinking. But what's yours?
Oh, I gave you mine. So let's go on. Yeah. What will the cost be after it's announced?
Oh, so I don't think they're going to sell it to consumers anymore. So we know that it's $15,000 at this point, right? And he's going to quickly raise it. And we suspect that he's going to raise it by the end of Q3.
Oh,
because in Q3, they've already said that there's a one-time amnesty for people that have FSD to buy a new Tesla and have a one-time ability to transfer it to that new Tesla. And I think part of the reason they're doing that is not only to, because the people were complaining, but it's primarily because they're going to stop selling this. And as soon as they're able to say that this is a step change in the capability, it's not worth $15,000. And if it's worth $50,000, why would they sell it? They're going to have their cars and they're going to lease it to fleet managers, and the fleet managers can basically use the cars and manage it. But people keep saying that they think that they're still going to sell it direct to consumer. Sure. And if they did, what would be the price? I mean, $250,000 for the car with FSD is really what it's worth at that point. So that's the number we would go with. It's worth 5 times what it is today. So if instead of a $50,000 car or $50,000 car with FSD, it's now $250. That's what I would say it would be.
Okay, all right. So how long after FSD is solved, or after there's some demonstration or some kind of a PR release or something that makes us all go, oh my gosh, it's happened, how long from there to Robotaxi?
Yeah, so there's another tough question. So maybe people say that, oh, Robotaxi is regulation, and you need to have, it's going to be highly regulated. It's going to take a long time. It's not, guys. It is not. So step back and think. Today, Waymo they just announced, didn't they? Is it Waymo Cruise? They just announced that they just launched to Nashville, their 7th city. Yeah. So you can already today hire a Robotaxi in 7 cities using either Cruise or Waymo and engage it, hire it, and pay for it. And it's a Robotaxi. Now, one thing people don't realize is that there's actually a human operator that takes over and watches it very carefully. And it's not priced for scalability or for profitability. This is high loss, tremendous amount of loss for them to do this, but they can claim that they're in 7. And so this is already happening. Now, when you have a partner, a large OEM that decides to license FSD, this then becomes another bit about why regulators will more likely support this than not support it when they've got more OEMs coming on board. And then the cities themselves are clamoring. They are clamoring. They are fighting for this. And so, you will get many cities, at least 10, maybe 20, that will jump at this and just offer like crazy, we'll solve the regulation. No, they'll want it as opposed to not, especially if you show them the data that this is safer.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know why people think that regulation will take forever when in fact it should be the opposite, because it's going to be safer. It already is safer now, and it needs to be 10 to 20 times safer than a human. So I think it's going to be much, much faster, but I think it's going to be rolled out slowly, like a rollout by city. And the way I've been saying for a long time, and I'm still sticking to this, is that let's say my car has FSD, and let's say my car has capability of Robotaxi. What will happen is Tesla will watch me drive. It's watching me drive right today. It knows everywhere I go. And then it'll say, for select routes, you can go ahead and sleep. Tesla will take on the liability. Why can they say that? Because in these routes, let's say from my home to my work, or from my home to the mall, mm-hmm. Tesla knows it inside out. They've seen you drive that 30, 50, 100 times in the last 3 months, in the last year, right? They've seen hundreds of cars drive that route. So they feel very, very comfortable. They've got that route. They're already are very good about avoiding bicyclists and pedestrians. That they've actually seemed to have pretty well solved, right? It's like they're very good at identifying occupancy network. And so I think that, for known routes, known clear streets, well lit, certain cities, that there's no ambiguity, it's very well designed roads and all that. They'll say for those routes, we'll cover it. Not for everything. Not like you can just take it anywhere and we'll cover it. Now that will be pretty cool.
Okay. So switching subjects, Reno breaks ground when for the expansion?
I don't know.
No clue.
It might have already happened.
I don't
know what the expansion is. This is a good question for Brian White of My Tesla Weekend. He follows this very closely. I don't. That's why I interview him. I'll ask him in my next interview.
Well, yeah, but since I know you interview him. Anyway, okay.
I've not heard.
It's kind of a similar kind of question. Any thoughts on when the first semis will start rolling off of a production line?
Yeah, I don't know either as well as that. I mean, it's curious why it's been delayed, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's absolutely delayed. I have no idea. what's happened to that, why it's taking longer than usual.
So only Brian Wang and I really have paid any attention to this, but maybe you've listened to us, or maybe you have talked to others. How many semis do you think that they'll eventually build, or build by 2030 per year?
Yeah, I know. I think you were saying a million, right?
Million. Yeah, Brian was 3 million.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, I have no idea, right? But again, in my mind, now, so okay, let's think this through. First principle approach, right?
Okay.
So it's not okay. So first of all, when you think of the Tesla Semi, it's not just the it's by far, and I just interviewed Brian Wang, and he shared with me the table. He compared the Tesla Semi against the next 20 competitors in the EV space for semis, and it's just kills it in every way. So it's a breakthrough of a product. And we know that it's tremendous value to the buyer. So the demand for this is huge, right? It's payback in 2.5 years, right? And we know that the trucking business contribute outsized contribution to pollution, like 30% or something like that, some ridiculous number. So I know that in first principles approach, Tesla wants to do this, even though they themselves won't make as much money. Having said that, you pointed out to me, which I think is very true. You can't look at Semi as just a truck vehicle sale. You have to look at it as a supercharger, as a mega pack, as a solar panel for companies. So if a Pepsi buys it, they're going to outfit their factories with superchargers, mega packs, and solars. They're going to create mega packs everywhere, all that stuff. So it's more than just a Semi sale.
FSD.
It's going to be
and
FSD autopilot. Yes. So all of that makes sense. And so that's why I do think it is a revenue. But it just seems to me, again, if you look at the priorities for Tesla, so many things they're doing. Where do you put the batteries? That's where I get I don't know why, if that was all the things I just said was true, why has it been delayed by a year? And we don't know the reason except probably the battery, right?
The 4680s. Yeah. So that's my next question. 4680s, when do we hit 100 gigawatt hours?
I have zero idea.
No idea.
No idea. Now, the thing about the 4680 is that when you saw their presentation a few years ago, what they are doing today is very different than what they had proposed, right? Because they had realized that they had they couldn't achieve the full vision. And so then they said, okay, I'm going to cut back into a different kind of version of 4680. So I don't keep track of that. I know Lithium Factor does. I know Brian knows this really, really well. So I don't know where they're at with that, but there's a version of the 4680 that I believe is going to start going in scale by the end of this year. But I have no idea with the volumes that you're talking about.
Okay. All right. Okay. So my very last one, and you probably don't know this either, but maybe you have a guess. It's okay if you just guess. What is Elon's big surprise?
So he tweeted out just a few days ago over the weekend that I have, what did he say exactly?
Something exciting coming, or I forget exactly the words, but
yeah,
he has some surprise.
I'm surprised. I have no idea. I think, when I first saw that, I was hopeful it's going to be about Tesla, but I actually think it's about X.
Okay.
And so, no, I don't want to overread into that sometimes.
So
but I think I feel like it's going to be about X, not Tesla.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Like, in other words, they might be ready to roll out their own GPT.
Or that, yeah, something like that. Yeah, because the XAI and X, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think that's what he's excited about.
Or it could be on the Twitter side. Maybe they're going to start offering a payment system.
Right. That's what I just said. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Anyway,
called X now, Randy. X, not Twitter.
There's so many possibilities of what this surprise could be, and it's like, okay, all right. Oh my gosh, which one is it? Come on, Elon. It's not fair. It's not right. All right. Well, that's all I had. I didn't have any more. Was there anything I left out that you want to answer that I didn't?
There's so many. There's so many things. I mean, come on, buddy. There's a million things, but you covered all the big ones. That's fine.
All right. We'll obviously do this again, and then I'll be on your show. I was on your show this morning, and I'll be on your show, I'm sure next week, unless the creek rises. So anyway, thanks so much for being here. Herbert, as always, fantastic to have you on. And thanks again.
Thank you so much, Randy. That was fun.
Okay. And for all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.